The Silver Edge Award caught the early Texas sunlight as I placed it on my desk in Houston. I should have been celebrating. Instead, my hand trembled as I boxed up my office, hearing Carson Blake's words echo in my mind. "You've become too ambitious, Delilah. Effective, immediately, we're terminating your contract." My throat tightened. Just yesterday, I'd become the first woman over 50 to win the Silver Edge Award for designing Pathlight, a smart navigation tool for seniors with vision loss. Today, I was nobody. Security stood silently by the door as I slid my planner and coffee mug into a cardboard box. No one on my team would look at me as I walked out of Genovox's sleek tower. The glass doors whooshed closed behind me with a final hiss. In the Uber home, my phone buzzed with congratulations from people who didn't yet know I'd been fired just hours after receiving the award. I stared out the window, watching the rain blur downtown. "This isn't over," I whispered. "Not even close." Back in my apartment, I placed the award on the counter and stood there numb. One day, I was the pride of Genovox. The next, I was erased like a smudge on glass. Something didn't add up. Out of instinct, I opened my laptop and tried to access the shared dev drive. Access denied. No surprise. But as I scanned the logs, I noticed something strange: an access timestamp at 2:58 a.m. 2 weeks ago. Admin override, top-level clearance. Someone had deleted my notes on Pathlight's interface. I opened a drawer and pulled out a small black USB stick hidden under old receipts. Plugging it in would violate everything. But what were they going to do, fire me again? I plugged it in. A command prompt blinked to life. I typed in the override code I'd written when I first took over as lead developer 3 years ago. They took everything from me. Now, I was going to find out why and take it all back. No one knew about the backdoor, not even my team at Genovox. I'd written the code during my second month as lead systems developer, a quiet insurance policy I never imagined I'd need. Now at 2:13 a.m., I watched lines of code race across my laptop screen as I navigated into Genovox's buried server structure. I'd built most of their architecture. Breaking in was like coming home. I avoided the security triggers I had once proudly designed. Then I found it, a hidden, double-encrypted file project, Pathlight. Transfer, Vavi2, Final, CN, China. My stomach turned. Why would Pathlight, a product for visually impaired seniors in the U.S., be routed through a Chinese transfer protocol? I clicked, but a second firewall blocked me. I was just about to try again when the doorbell rang. Startled, I shut the laptop and slid it under a couch cushion. Almost 3 a.m. Who the hell was at my door? Peeking through the peephole, I saw Jonas, my old teammate, dark circles, wrinkled shirt, eyes darting. That could only mean trouble. I cracked the door open. "Jonas, you shouldn't be here." "I had to warn you," he whispered, glancing over his shoulder. "Something's not right at Genovox." I stepped aside to let him in. He paced my living room like a man with secrets itching to spill. "Carson moved up Pathlight's launch by 2 weeks. We're skipping 3 major test phases. It's chaos." "Why the rush?" I asked. "I don't know." And Claudia's suddenly sitting in on every executive meeting. Claudia, my mentor, my trusted ally. I'd had doubts. "Something's wrong," I said quietly. Jonas nodded. "I should have spoken up when they started cutting you out." I was scared. I studied him. "Do you still have access credentials?" He blinked. "Yeah." "Why?" "Because we're going to find out exactly what they're doing with my work." He hesitated, then slowly opened his company laptop. "If they catch us, I'll lose my job." I looked him in the eye. "Jonas, if I'm right, your job's already gone. You just don't know it yet." My living room became our war room. Jonas's credentials gave us deeper access than my backdoor ever could. We worked through the night, sifting through buried directories and encrypted archives. By dawn, we had something. A string of offshore accounts tied to Carson Blake, Genovox's CEO. Wire transfers. Names we didn't recognize. Jonas leaned over and pointed at one entry. $2 million from Shenzhen, he said. "Dated the morning after they fired you." I felt the chill settle in my spine. "He's selling Pathlight," I whispered. "That's why I had to go. I'm the only one who can prove the design is mine. But suspicion wasn't enough. We needed proof, undeniable, admissible. Something they couldn't explain away with PR spin. There's one place we haven't checked, I muttered, typing fast. The backup servers for exec meetings. Jonas frowned. They're air-gapped. We can't get in remotely. No, I said. But I helped design them. I know exactly where to look. My eyes flicked to the Silver Edge Award glinting in the morning sun. They wanted silence. I was going to give them a spotlight. Delilah Jonas said quietly, "What are you planning?" "Something dangerous," I answered. "For Carson." His voice echoed in my mind 3 months ago in the boardroom, waving off my pitch. Audio guidance for the blind too niche. Not worth development resources. He'd laughed while I clutched my prototype, certain it could change lives. Back in my apartment, I dug through my archives and opened an old recording. I'd legally taped every team session for notes. Then I found a Zoom call time-stamped the day before I was fired. Carson was speaking in Mandarin to someone overseas. My Mandarin was rough, but the message was clear. She won't be a problem anymore. I stared at the screen, blood pounding in my ears. "Jonas," I called. "I think we've got our smoking gun." He listened, jaw tightening. "They're selling American tech offshore. Not just any tech," I corrected. Mine, my technology. I played the audio again, hearing Carson Blake's cold calculation in Mandarin. Each word fueled something deeper than anger. This wasn't just about my job anymore. It was about justice. My fingers flew across the keyboard as I coded a digital kill switch for the Pathlight demo. It had to be flawless, hidden deep inside the interface, completely undetectable unless you knew where to look. No surface-level scan would ever catch it. "You're really doing this?" Jonas asked behind me. "He stole 5 years of my life?" I replied. "He doesn't get to profit from it." The kill switch was simple but powerful. One trigger and Pathlight's live demo would be overridden with evidence, offshore accounts, stolen code, hidden communications, all streamed directly to the audience and press. "They've started launch rehearsals," Jonas said, checking his phone. "Carson's planning a full walkthrough this weekend." "Perfect," I muttered. "Gives us time." I saved the kill switch onto an encrypted drive and handed Jonas a backup. "If anything happens to me," I said, "get this to the press." He stared. "Delilah, what are you planning?" "Justice," I answered. He hesitated. "You never used to take risks like this." "I had something to lose." "Back then," I said flatly. "Carson took care of that. Earlier, we'd created fake documentation for Pathlight files embedded with digital trackers that would trace whoever accessed them. Jonas uploaded them to his Genovox account, disguised as routine development logs. 6 hours later, the trap was triggered. If Delilah's journey moved, you don't forget to subscribe. The next chapter isn't just about what she reclaimed, it's about what she builds next. Someone had opened the files using an untraceable VPN. System logs revealed the access path came directly from Carson's executive credentials. "Got him," I whispered. I cloned the path to the offshore server. Data flowed in emails, contracts, wire transfers. Carson had been planning this for months, selling Pathlight's code to a Chinese firm called NovaGate. According to their documentation, he was listed as the sole inventor. "My name's gone," I said to Jonas, voice hollow. "They erased me completely." "They're launching next week," he replied. "With your work." "Not anymore," I said, eyes narrowing. "They just don't know it yet." "We need Carson to incriminate himself," I told Jonas. "And I know exactly how to make that happen." I drafted an anonymous tip to a journalist I'd met at the Silver Edge Awards, Riley Tran, known for exposing corporate fraud. I included just enough to rattle cages. 2 days later, I got exactly what I expected. An email from Genovox's legal department, subject NDA violation. Cease and desist. They accused me of breaching company policy by accessing internal systems post-termination. Attached was a non-compete agreement with my name on it. One problem, I told Jonas, enlarging the PDF. "I never signed this." He leaned in. "Looks like your signature, except it's not. Look at the Y. I always loop it. This one cuts straight." "Someone forged your signature," he said, stunned. That's a felony. I dug deeper into the file metadata. The doc was created 3 days after my termination, yet dated back to my first week at Genovox. And the final approver, Carson Blake, I said, smiling grimly. Sloppy. That's another nail in his coffin. I replied to legal with a neutral request for documentation verification, a classic delay tactic. We needed time, because what I really needed was Carson's public confession. And how do we get that, Jonas asked. He's going to give it to us, I said, at the Pathlight launch. We'd already seen evidence of tampering admin overrides 2 weeks ago, had stripped my authorship tags from Pathlight's core files. But Carson had missed one crucial detail compiler timestamps. You can fake names, but not time. I stayed up all night rebuilding the full development timeline. Then I went one step further. I embedded a watermark in the final build. What's it do? Jonas asked. It's a digital signature, I said. If they remove it, the whole system crashes. If they leave it, it proves Pathlight is mine. Jonas exhaled slowly. He'll never see it coming. Exactly, I said, my voice steel. Carson tried to erase me, but the code remembers. They'll never see it coming, Jonas said, shaking his head. I closed my laptop, drained, but satisfied. Carson Blake thought he was untouchable, a genius in a tailored suit. But he was just a thief. And thieves always slip. Jonas handed me a mug of coffee. You haven't slept in 2 days, Delilah. I'll sleep when Carson's in cuffs. I drafted an encrypted message to Riley Tran, the tech journalist I'd tipped off earlier. Under the alias Nova, I attached scrubbed evidence of IP theft, just enough to spark her curiosity without giving away our position. Hours later, she replied, Interesting, Nova. But I need more. Can you prove Carson intended to steal and sell this tech? I stared at the screen, tension rising. She was right. So far, it could all be brushed off as internal disputes. We need him to admit it, I told Jonas. And how do you get a CEO to confess he won't confess to me? I said, opening a fresh document. But he might brag if he thinks no one's watching. I mapped out my final plan, a hidden video expose that would trigger during Pathlight's live launch. Carson wouldn't know he was being recorded until it was too late. You're going to burn yourself out, Jonas warned. I've waited my whole career for this project. I won't let him take it. His warning reminded me of Claudia's words 6 months earlier, after Carson humiliated me in front of the product team. He does it to everyone, she'd said, trying to comfort me. No, I'd whispered. Just me. She'd smiled. Because you have potential. This company will be yours someday. Just wait. But now I wondered, had she meant it, or was it all a strategy to keep me compliant? Fueled by doubt, I pulled up Genovox's internal logs and searched Claudia's name. What I found made my stomach drop. Multiple communications with Carson. Subject line, managing Delilah's expectations. My mentor hadn't protected me. She'd helped him plan it. Dozens of messages between Claudia and Carson Blake, all marked managing Delilah's expectations. My mentor, my supposed ally, had been reporting on me the entire time. She was never on your side, Jonas said, forwarding a memo he'd found. Subject, transfer partner meeting. Confidential. The wording was vague corporate filler. Except one line stood out: final payment confirmation pending full functionality. Attached was a redacted document with a single bank routing number at the bottom. I ran it through a financial database. It's a corporate account in Shenzhen, I told Jonas. Registered to a company called Nova Gate Systems. They're buying Pathlight? Not buying, I said. Stealing. With Carson's help. I pulled up Nova Gate's website. Their CEO was scheduled to give a keynote the same week as Pathlight's launch, promising a world-first navigation breakthrough. They'll launch right after Genovox does, I realized. Claim they developed it independently. That's why Carson rushed the timeline, Jonas said. He's double dealing. I clenched my fists. We've got 3 days. That night, I made final preparations. Carson Blake was about to learn that ambition works both ways. Should we go to the FBI? Jonas asked. This is corporate espionage. After the launch, I replied. Right now, we need the public to see it. If we go legal, first Genovox will bury it. The satellite server room was exactly how I left it years ago, humming quietly beneath blue lights. I'd designed it to stay off network. That isolation was now our best weapon. Using Jonas's badge and access codes, I slipped in during the night shift. Security cameras wouldn't catch a thing. I'd looped their feed for 20 minutes. Plenty of time. I connected to the backups and began downloading security footage. That's when I saw it. Carson in his office reviewing wire transfers on his monitor, speaking to someone off camera about Phase 1 completion. As I reached to disconnect, another log appeared. Claudia's credentials. She'd accessed Carson's private server that same night. My stomach dropped. She wasn't just complicit. She was in it deep. I stared at Claudia's credentials in the log. She'd always supported me, encouraged me, protected me. Maybe there was a good reason for her to access Carson's files. Maybe. I pocketed the drive and slipped out of the satellite server room without leaving a trace. Outside, the night air was crisp. I exhaled slowly. One more piece of the puzzle. The security guard at the front desk gave a casual nod. He didn't know the woman under the hoodie and baseball cap was about to expose Genovox's CEO. The next morning, Riley Tran's article dropped Genovox faces questions over foreign IP dealings. Vague enough to protect me. Sharp enough to start a fire. By noon, Quasher's Genovox leak was trending. Carson issued a flat denial calling the claims baseless. But his PR team was already scrambling. Perfect. While they tried damage control, I completed the final kill switch test on a mirrored version of the Pathlight demo. The interface flickered. Then my embedded evidence surfaced. Contracts, wire logs, Claudia's messages. "It's ready," I told Jonas. "Tomorrow's the day." "You nervous?" he asked, voice tight. "No," I said honestly. "I'm just ready for the truth." My phone buzzed. "Claudia." I hesitated, then answered. "Delilah, where have you been?" Her voice was gentle, concerned. "I've been around. This whole situation is awful. Fired right after your award. I've been meaning to reach out. Have you? I can talk to Carson. Maybe help smooth things over." I nearly laughed. The launch was hours away, and now she wanted to be helpful. "Thanks, Claudia. I appreciate that." We hung up. I stared at the screen, replaying her words. Concerned mentor. Or part of the cover-up, I didn't have to guess much longer. Tomorrow the world would see for themselves. Why now? Was Claudia truly concerned or just digging for information? I remembered the server log. Then my phone buzzed. Using a backdoor script I'd coded, I intercepted a new message. From Claudia. Sent to Carson seconds after our call. She's still out there. Wouldn't say where. My chest tightened. She wasn't my mentor. She was Carson's spy. I showed Jonas the message. His expression darkened. "I thought she believed in you." He said. "So did I," I whispered. That's what made her so dangerous. Launch day arrived. I shed the hoodie and sneakers. Today, I was armor-clad black blazer, white shirt, hair pulled back tight, no-nonsense makeup. In my tote, 3 mini cameras, a directional mic, and the kill switch trigger. Across town, Jonas entered Genovox's HQ through the employee entrance. His task plant, a tracker on Carson's tablet, and test AV vulnerabilities. "Security's tighter than expected," he texted. "Stick to the plan," I replied. "I'm heading in." The Genovox auditorium gleamed. Outside, a line of press and guests buzzed with anticipation. I adjusted my fake Tech Today badge. "A college friend owed me a favor," name the guard asked. "Emma Chen," I said smoothly. He barely glanced before waving me in. Inside, the atmosphere pulsed with excitement. I spotted Riley Tran in the front row prepping her equipment. She looked up and gave me a small, knowing nod. I was in. I scanned the seats. None of my former colleagues would recognize me. I'd made sure of it. Today, I wasn't Delilah. I was the storm. The lights dimmed. Dramatic music swelled. I took my seat 7 rows from the stage, close enough to strike, distant enough to blend in. My fingers closed around the trigger device in my pocket. The room leaned forward in anticipation, but they weren't ready. Not for what was coming next. Countdown to launch, 30 minutes, the automated voice announced. Tech staff moved like bees across the stage, adjusting massive screens. Carson Blake would be backstage now, rehearsing his lies, clueless about what was coming. Jonas texted, tracker planted. Kill switch path confirmed. You're good to go? I scanned the room. Claudia sat in the VIP section, glancing at her watch. Did she recognize me? Probably not. I'd buried that version of myself. The auditorium was full investors, media tech elites. A technician near the main server junction frowned at his tablet, then muttered into his radio. Security alert at Junction 5. Possible system irregularity. My pulse quickened. Had they found something? Jonas texted again. Abort no, I replied. It's now or never. Then Carson stepped onto the stage to thunderous applause, confident and polished in the same suit he wore the day he fired me. Today, Genovox redefines accessibility, he declared. I'm proud to introduce Pathlight. Applause roared again. I stayed still, hands clenched in my lap. That was my work, my sleepless nights, my invention. Carson raised his tablet. Let's show you what Pathlight can do. 3, 2, 1. He tapped the screen. I squeezed the trigger in my pocket. Nothing. Then the main display flickered. Carson frowned. Tapped again. Blackness. He stammered. We're experiencing a brief. Then the screen lit up again, not with the demo, but my voice. Hello, Carson. Gasps rippled through the crowd. On screen appeared offshore transactions, design logs, Claudia's messages, and Carson's directive to remove my name from the Pathlight codebase. Panic swept the room. Security froze. Carson stood still, stunned. He'd stolen my legacy. But today, I took it back. Ready for the real show. My recorded voice echoed across the auditorium. Gasps filled the air. Carson Blake froze, mid-sentence confusion twisting into horror. Silence fell as the exposé unfolded on the massive screen. First, offshore transfers, from Genovox to Novagate Systems in Shenzhen. Then, code records with my name erased. Authorship logs altered by admin override. Finally, the most damning piece, Carson's voice recorded the day he fired me. We need her gone before the deal closes. The award complicates things. Reporters scrambled for photos. Phones lit up. Security stood frozen. Carson lunged for his tablet, jabbing furiously. Nothing. In the VIP section, Claudia bolted upright, heading for the exit, but cameras had already caught her panic. I rose from my seat and walked slowly down the aisle. All eyes turned as I approached the stage. Carson looked up and recognized me. His eyes widened. Rage, fear, disbelief. I stopped at the foot of the platform. Calm, unshaken. Remember me, I said aloud. Chaos erupted. Reporters rushed forward. Flashbulbs popped. Security hesitated. Do they protect him or arrest him? My phone buzzed nonstop. The live stream had gone viral. Genovox exposed was everywhere. Riley Tran had confirmed it. Delilah Harper, creator of Pathlight, just exposed one of the largest tech frauds in U.S. history. Carson grabbed a mic. This is a smear campaign. She's a disgruntled ex-employee with fabricated evidence. Before security could move, Claudia pushed forward and seized another mic. This is a misunderstanding, she said, voice cracking. Genovox values its creators. I stepped forward. Strange, I said calmly. Your login credentials were used to authorize the transfer. Were you in from the start, or did Carson bring you in later? The room fell silent. Sweat gathered at Claudia's brow. Her hand shook. That was all the answer we needed. I was just following instructions, Claudia stammered. The board approved everything. That was the confession I'd been waiting for. Someone in the crowd shouted, So you admit there was a transfer? Claudia flinched. The damage was done. He told me to watch you. She blurted, her composure cracking. I didn't mean for it to go this far. The audience murmured. The press leaned in. Carson promised me a board seat if I helped secure the IP transfer. My job was to mentor you, to keep you comfortable, distracted. Each word hit like a punch. The coffee chats. The encouragement. All of it a performance. You were supposed to be my mentor, I said, my voice firm. I was, she insisted. But your success threatened the company. Your award. It changed everything. On stage, Carson's face twisted. Shut up! Claudia, too late. Security moved in. Carson made a break for the exit, only to be stopped by 2 guards. Seconds later, police entered through the back. Carson Blake, one officer, said, "We need to speak with you regarding wire fraud and intellectual property theft." Handcuffed and humiliated, he was escorted past the very audience he'd hoped would applaud him. I watched him go, feeling vindicated, but also something quieter. Sadness for what might have been if he'd simply valued what I gave freely. In the days that followed, the industry exploded. Genovox's stock dropped 42%. Board members resigned. CEOs made quiet calls to compliance teams. From the stillness of my new workspace, a renovated warehouse bathed in morning light, I watched the chaos unfold. My legal team had filed airtight IP claims. The courts upheld them. Pathlight was mine again. A headline blinked on my screen: Harper launches Nova Systems with record-breaking seed round. Investors lined up not just for my invention, but my integrity. My phone buzzed. Messages from ex-Genovox colleagues. People asking to join. I scrolled through carefully. Loyalty mattered now. Jonas stepped in with coffee. "You ready?" "The team's waiting." I closed the laptop and smiled. Let's build it right this time. The scandal's fallout rippled for months, but my focus had shifted. I had a company to build and a purpose to fulfill. On my desk sat a simple frame: "Inventor reclaims stolen innovation," the headline read. Next to it, my Silver Edge Award, the one Carson tried to bury. By the way, Jonas said, stepping into my office, they denied Carson's bail. I nodded. Justice was being served, but that wasn't my mission anymore. 6 months later, I stood in Nova Systems' central hub. Sunlight streaming through skylights, open space, buzzing with quiet energy. 30 engineers handpicked for both talent and integrity. No glass offices, no gatekeepers, just one unified team. Pathlight 2.0 launches tomorrow, Jonas reminded me. Now, officially, our CTO, he looked more excited than nervous. Pre-orders tripled expectations, he added. I smiled. The new version was what I'd always envisioned: smarter, faster, and built to empower visually impaired users worldwide. People cried during the demo videos, said Emma, our marketing lead. That's what this product does. It gives people their independence. This was why I fought not for revenge, though that had its place, but because Pathlight mattered. It changed lives. Beside my award was a new plaque: Ambition Builds Worlds. I gathered the team for our check-in. Let's make tomorrow unforgettable, I told them. Let's show the world what integrity and innovation look like. Later, as launch prep intensified, my assistant approached. "Carson called," she said. "From prison. His lawyer says it's about a deal." I glanced at the block number. "Tell them I'm unavailable." Permanently. 30 minutes later, I stood backstage at the largest tech keynote of the year. The auditorium buzzed. 6 continents were watching. "Sold out in 17 countries already," Jonas whispered, grinning. I straightened my blazer, the same one I wore the day Carson fired me. Now it was my armor. The host's voice echoed through the hall. "Please welcome Delilah Harper, founder and CEO of Nova Systems." I stepped into the spotlight, calm and unshaken. They said I was too ambitious. I began. They were right. "If you've made it this far, thank you. Really." I didn't tell this story for sympathy. I told it because I know I'm not the only one who's ever been underestimated, dismissed, or told they were too much for the room they were already holding up. So now I want to hear from you. Have you ever had your work ignored, your loyalty betrayed? Did someone try to take what you built and pass it off as their own? Leave me a comment below. I want to know your story. Let's build a space where resilience is louder than betrayal. And if you believe in people reclaiming what's rightfully theirs, if you believe ambition isn't something to apologize for, then support what we're doing here. Hit the like button, share this video with someone who needs it, and most of all, subscribe. Not just to this channel, but to the idea that the quiet ones, the ones who keep their heads down and do the real work, we deserve the mic too. Here's the truth: I didn't rise because I wanted revenge. I rose because I remembered who I was. when others hoped I'd forget. And if there's one thing I'd pass on to anyone watching, it's this. Your ambition isn't the problem. Their fear of it is. Don't dim your light just because someone else prefers the dark. Stand tall, speak clearly, and build anyway, even if you have to start from scratch. Because sometimes the only way forward is through fire. And when you walk through it, walk like you own the place. Delilah, Harper founder and CEO Nova Systems, creator of Pathlight.